You are watching the National News Desk, America's News Now.
The past 24 hours have been a flurry of emotion, sadness, anger.
Madison in mourning. A community struggles to cope after a deadly school shooting rocks a close-knit Wisconsin town. What authorities are working to verify tonight that could explain what drove a teen to open fire. Indictment filed. Why the official charges against the man who killed a healthcare CEO go beyond just murder in the first degree. And with holiday travel soon to be underway, we'll share the record-setting number of Americans expected to hit the roads and skies. This is the National News Desk, America's News Now. I'm Amira David. Two people still fighting for their lives after 15-year-old Natalie Samantha Ruppnow opened fire on her Madison, Wisconsin school yesterday morning, killing a teacher and a student while leaving 6 others hospitalized. Tonight, authorities not revealing the identities of the victims, but they say they are piecing together more about the alleged shooter as they comb through her personal belongings and interview people who knew her to find out how the teen was able to get a firearm and what drove her to pull the trigger before turning the gun on herself.
Identifying a motive is our top priority, but at this time it appears that the motive was a combination of factors.
Tonight, there is an alleged manifesto circulating on social media that could provide insight into her motive. Authorities say it has not been verified, however, as they work to now determine its authenticity. Tonight, a memorial has been set up at the site of the school as community members mourn a tragedy that has become all too common in the country. And here's a look at this year's firearm-related violence, according to Everytown for Gun Safety. In just 2024, there were at least 205 incidents of gunfire on school grounds, resulting in 58 deaths and 156 injuries nationally. It is the highest number we have seen since 2013 when the group began tracking data. The group also says at this point, over 95% of American public schools now drill students on lockdown procedures. Lawmakers tonight, along with the vice president, calling for reform.
Look, as we hold our loved ones close this holiday season, we as a nation must renew our commitment to end the horror of gun violence, both mass shootings and everyday gun violence that touches so many communities in our nation. We must end it.
New information tonight. Luigi Mangione has been officially indicted with premeditated first-degree murder and second-degree murder as an act of terrorism for the death of UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Mangione will be back in a Pennsylvania court Thursday to formally face gun-related charges in that state. Immediately following that, it is expected Mangione will waive his right to fight extradition back to New York, where he will eventually stand trial. And tonight, a classified House Intelligence Committee hearing is just wrapped with official updates on widespread drone sightings that have been reported across the country. This as officials at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio confirm more drones were spotted near the base just last night. Operations were not impacted, but the Air Force Base did close their airspace on Friday night into Saturday because of similar drone sightings. John Kirby reaffirming the White House's position that there is no security risk with these sightings, while lawmakers say the White House is not being transparent with what is going on.
Everything we're seeing to date, our assessment tells us that these are commercial drones, hobbyist drones, or law enforcement drones, all operating legally and lawfully.
But someone is making a really bad decision by not coming clean and say that these are our drones. We're doing some sort of an operation, nothing to see here.
The countdown to Friday at midnight continues. Congress has yet to release text for their end-of-year budget to keep the government open. Negotiating members say they have reached top-line agreements to fund the government until March 14th. Still, without legislation officially completed, there is a time crunch right now. Congressional rules say members must have at least 72 hours to review bills before voting, leaving congressional members frustrated with the process.
But reality is there is no CR text out yet. We don't know what's in it. And here we are. What is today? Tuesday? Yeah. Okay. So that's it.
Serial killer suspect Rex Auerman pleaded not guilty again after being charged with a 7th murder related to the Gilgo Beach killings. Prosecutors said today a hair from Auerman's daughter was found on 24-year-old victim Valerie Mack's body. Mack went missing in the year 2000, and Auerman's daughter would have been about 4 years old at the time. Auerman's attorney disputed the evidence provided and said the technology used has never been seen as reliable in a New York case. After 7 days of deliberation, tech consultant Nina Momani has been found guilty for the 2023 murder of Cash App founder Bob Lee. Prosecutors made their case, saying Momani planned the attack, driving Lee to an isolated spot under the Bay Bridge before stabbing him. Defense attorneys claimed Momani acted in self-defense and that Bob Lee was the one to attack with a knife. Momani is now facing between 16 years and life in prison. A Russian woman arrested earlier this month for sneaking onto a Delta flight from New York to Paris in custody again. Law enforcement officials say they arrested Svetlana Dali yesterday in Buffalo, New York, trying to sneak into Canada on a bus. She had cut off the ankle monitors she got after her first arrest. Dali was due back in court today. In the state of Maryland, car thefts exceed the national average by 118%. The crimes are not only getting more frequent, they're getting more bold, with armed carjackings beginning to take root at an alarming rate. The National News Desk's Rebecca Pryor is in Baltimore with concern from impacted communities.
Taking off across the city, a series of carjackings carried out by juveniles, shaking residents' sense of safety.
I don't even know how to express in words how someone could even fathom to do something like that. It's not safe for anybody out here.
Starting in Federal Hill about 3 weeks ago.
All right, Sector 3, carjacking, 141 West Montgomery.
BPD saying a 12 and 15-year-old arrested after attempting to steal one car and successfully carjacking another.
One of the suspects was armed with a thin, small knife. They tried to take a Ford Fusion. They got 2 separate carjackings on their hands.
Officers taking the pair to DJS and requesting they be detained. BPD citing the 15-year-old's 6 prior arrests, including a handgun violation, assault, and another stolen car. Instead, DJS releasing both on ankle monitors.
You release these kids and the parents don't do anything, and so it just gives them the incentive to go out and do it again.
A similar situation playing out in North Baltimore last Thursday. According to BPD, a group of juveniles carjacking an 81-year-old woman at this Carroll fuel station on York Road. BPD arresting 4 14-year-olds who were again released, despite BPD claiming 3 of the teens are, quote, no strangers to the law, this time citing gun charges, assault, and burglary as prior crimes.
There should be some type of accountability held for that.
And early Friday morning, just above Patterson Park, a couple reportedly held at gunpoint and robbed of their car keys. Surveillance video capturing one of the suspects jumping into the car and speeding off.
6 number 1 males, 3 armed with guns, taking his vehicles.
After a short chase, BPD recovering this loaded handgun and arresting 2 14-year-olds. According to the victims, those suspects also released.
It's just bonkers to me that this keeps happening.
Community activist and safety chair of the Patterson Park Neighborhood Association, Arch McCowan, joining the many residents demanding greater accountability for repeat offenders, regardless of age.
It's a major source of frustration for all of us in the community to see the same kids that are coming back in here and committing violent crimes of opportunity like armed carjackings.
A sexual assault lawsuit against country singer Garth Brooks from a former makeup artist still stands. A judge denied Brooks' request to dismiss the complaint that was filed in California because of pending action in another state, according to Fox News. A court date yesterday was canceled. Brooks has refuted the makeup artist's claims that he raped her back in 2019. And this just in, 2 NASA astronauts stuck in space will have to wait even longer before returning. Butch Wilmore and Sonny Williams were initially supposed to come home over the summer after an 8-day stay, but their return was elongated to February after issues with the Boeing capsule they took into space. But now that return has been pushed again to late March or even April. Coming up, tech CEOs are flocking to Mar-a-Lago to make nice with President-elect Trump, what an industry insider says they are hoping to accomplish. Then the days and times when traffic will be the worst for people driving to their holiday destinations. And later, the new plan in Tennessee to reduce the cost of enforcing immigration laws while making the state safer. We'll be right back. A Wall Street losing streak not seen since Jimmy Carter was in the White House. Today, the Dow dropped for the 9th consecutive day, tying a negative run back in 1978. But despite the trend over the last 2 weeks, the Dow does remain slightly above where it was just a month ago and up more than 11% from 6 months ago, indicating this stretch has not been a negative for retirees. Meanwhile, the Nasdaq and the S&P 500 markets have been up recently, surging mainly on AI and other technology stocks. This as the Federal Reserve Board began their final meeting of the year to discuss key interest rates. Policymakers say they expect a 3rd consecutive rate cut before the year's end, possibly by about a 1/4 point. The Fed is also discussing their plans for 2025. Watchdog groups don't believe it is likely consecutive cuts will continue into January. Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell will deliver his remarks and decision at 2 p.m. tomorrow Eastern Time. Netflix co-CEO Ted Sarandos has become the latest tech giant to meet with President-elect Donald Trump at Mar-a-Lago. The meeting with Sarandos comes just 24 hours after Trump met with TikTok's CEO, as the company makes a last-ditch effort to reverse a looming ban of the app in the United States. Our Atrel Nashar takes a look at the unprecedented push from big tech to get on Trump's good side.
They're some of the richest people in the world behind arguably the most influential companies. But as Republicans are about to take sweeping control of Washington, tech giants have plenty of reason to be nervous. Very nervous.
Your company and every social media company needs to do much more to protect children.
For years, Republicans have been leading the charge and accusing social media companies of putting children in harm's way. They also claim the tech industry overall has a liberal bias. Republicans are about to take majorities in both the House and the Senate and control the White House. If enough of them agree, they'll have enough power to pass laws that could upend how tech companies operate. It's why just about every industry leader you can think of, CEOs of Apple, TikTok, Google, Meta, have gone to President-elect Trump's Mar-a-Lago residence to meet privately.
In the first term, everybody was fighting me. In this term, everybody wants to be my friend.
Even Ted Sarandos, co-CEO of Netflix, who's donated to Democrats in the past and whose wife served as an ambassador under the Obama administration, meeting with Trump Tuesday.
I think what you're seeing is companies wanting to get on Trump's good side to start.
They know the risk if they don't, says Adam Kovacevic, founder and CEO of Chamber of Progress, a left-leaning tech industry coalition.
Trump's first administration often regulated companies based on how nice the company was to him personally.
Executives also want a seat at the table, especially when it comes to setting AI policy. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman and AI startup Perplexity each expected to donate $1 million to Trump's inauguration.
A lot of the tech industry's biggest problems right now are a need to cut red tape, build more data centers, and most people in tech would love to see Trump cut through that red tape.
Tech isn't the only industry with these hopes. The banking sector is also optimistic Trump will cut regulations. The president-elect says many bank executives have been calling him. In Washington, I'm Atrel Nishar for the National News Desk, America's News Now.
Atra, thank you. The FTC is cracking down on so-called junk fees for live events, vacation rentals, and hotel stays. In an effort to make prices more comparable, companies will now have to disclose the total price upfront and in advertising, meaning consumers aren't surprised by convenience or service fees at checkout. On top of money, the commission estimates this new rule will save consumers up to 53 million hours a year in time spent searching for the total price. Safety regulators want to make sure all your passengers are buckling up with a new rule. Right now, audible warnings are only required for the driver's seat, but starting in 2027, all new cars will have to sound an alert if backseat passengers aren't clicked in, too. NHTSA data from 2022 shows 92% of people in the front used their seatbelts, compared to 82% in the back. About half of the people who died in crashes that year were not wearing seatbelts. Holiday travel expected to reach record numbers ending out the year. Domestic travel is forecast to surpass the previous record set in 2019 by an extra 3 million people. According to AAA, around 119 million people will travel from Saturday the 21st through Wednesday, January 1st. Nearly 90% of travelers will get to their destinations by car. The worst traffic expected on the weekends before Christmas and New Year. And it's especially this coming Sunday. That's according to INRIX.
The days leading up to Christmas is going to be the worst time to travel in the afternoon and evening. So AAA is encouraging motorists to try to start their journeys as early as 11 a.m. just to avoid the peak traffic times. And Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, we're going to see minimal traffic just because a lot of motorists will already be at their destinations.
And for those who are expected to drive, you're going to want to listen up here. Over 541,000 winter tires are being recalled because they don't have enough traction. That's according to the manufacturer. The recall covers the Fortune Tormenta and Prinks High Country winter replacement tires in over 100 sizes with mountain snowflake symbols on them. The manufacturer said it is working on a solution and will notify owners in February. After years on the transplant wait list, an Alabama grandmother received a kidney from a gene-edited pig in a rare procedure. 53-year-old Tawana Looney's transplant took place at NYU's medical facility last month. Doctors say she's doing pretty well and that the kidney seems to be functioning as intended. Looney is only the third living person to receive such a kidney, and now she's the only person in the world living with a functional pig kidney. She will have to continue taking medication to keep her body from rejecting the organ, but doctors predict in less than a decade, pig-to-human organ transplants like hers could become routine. And in your health alert, a national trial could help change outcomes for those living with Parkinson's disease. Medical reporter Liz Bonus explains how.
Hey there, everybody. Researchers are looking for people with Parkinson's disease to test this novel light technology. It is part of a national trial where you can help test it right in your own home.
Nay, me, my, mo, moo.
It may work as a complement to programs such as this vocal training at Ohio's Parkinson's Community Fitness. But rather than focusing on speech, Dr. Dan Abrams, the chief science officer at Photopharmix, told me it focuses on the eyes in those with Parkinson's disease.
The participants in our study, they use a device. It looks just like a tablet, and it produces this specific wavelength of light. It just needs to get into the eye to strengthen the eye and allow the eye to start to respond and signal back to the brain again.
As these photos provided by Photopharmix show,
participants will use this light each evening for up to an hour.
The hope is that this can help adjust the circadian rhythm that is altered in Parkinson's to reduce everything from sleep problems to daytime energy dips. You have some idea when this might come to market?
The trial is a 6-month trial. And so that's what the FDA wants to see over a long-term period of time. Were you able to improve on those symptoms and maintain that improvement?
You can search this story or Light for PD online to see if you qualify for the study. They will send you what's needed right to your home, and you are paid up to $500 for your time. With your health news, I'm Liz Bonus reporting.
Liz, thank you. The Pinellas County Commission set to vote on financing for the new Tampa Bay Rays ballpark. The commission is considering its share of $1.3 billion for the new 30,000-seat ballpark. Earlier this month, the St. Petersburg City Council approved its shares needed to build that new ballpark. The overall plan calls for the county and city to put up half of the cost, with the team to pay for the rest, including any overruns. And coming up, why the owner of a funeral home in one state says he's going to start serving alcohol there. We'll be right back. We have reporters all across the country in your neighborhoods covering the issues that matter most to you. We're taking the pulse of America, and we start in Tennessee with a new bill proposing to send illegal migrants to sanctuary cities.
Undocumented immigrants found in Tennessee could find themselves in another part of the country through the Tennessee Illegal Immigration Act. Under Representative Todd Warner's plan, if ICE doesn't show up in 2 days after a migrant is detained, law enforcement would send that person to a sanctuary city.
It seeks to make Tennessee safer. It seeks to make the federal government, hold their feet to the fire and enforce immigration laws. And it seeks the state to recoup some costs back out of it.
Warner says the way we would pay for this is to withhold money Tennessee generates for the federal government through the gas tax. He plans to add an amendment clarifying this would only impact someone charged with minor offenses.
Hunter Triplett, the owner of Evergreen Funeral, Cremation, and Reception, wants to shed the business's reputation of being dark and morbid. by offering manageable prices and the option for mourners to raise a toast to a lost loved one with a bar.
We'll only be offering alcohol when people are on this premises and remain on the premises until the continuation of our services, just for the safety of the people in the community around.
Triplet says adding a bar will allow people to make the service more personalized. Evergreen is the largest full-service funeral home in Central Ohio, and Triplet says will be the first of its kind in the state.
Haley Creedon dreamed of long serving in uniform.
I fell in love with the Army. I fell in love with the idea of being in the Army and serving.
But Creedon now says those ambitions are gone after the repeated sexual harassment by Lieutenant Colonel Herman West. Captain Creedon says her JBLM Army commander isolated her from other colleagues and began physically touching her legs, hair, and ears in private moments while making sexually suggestive comments, demanding that she drive him to lunch and events, where on one occasion she says he unbuckled his military uniform and pulled down his pants in front of her.
I was still kind of in disbelief that a battalion commander could be doing these things.
Creedon did file a complaint in 2023, and after a 4-day court-martial, West was convicted of the felony-level sexual harassment. While short of being dismissed from the Army, he was reprimanded and fined.
Coming up, some of the most popular American movies just added to the National Film Registry to preserve the country's film heritage. Which ones when we return? "25 movies are being added to the Library of Congress National Film Registry this year to help preserve the country's film heritage. The new selections announced today range from a silent film created at the dawn of cinema back in 1895 to the newest one chosen, The Social Network, from 2010. Some of the most popular titles include Star Trek II, Wrath of Khan, Beverly Hills Cop with Eddie Murphy, that's a big one, Dirty Dancing. There are now 900 movies in the registry, and you could submit nominations for next year on the library's website through August 15th, 2025. Have your mark on history. Why not? That does it for this edition of the National News Desk. Join us again this evening for more coverage on America's top stories. Thanks so much for watching.